another episode. Can we call it like this? Last time we spoke about we touched on your background in sports, how you kind of struggled within the fact that you had to leave your comfort zone, which is like football, and shifting towards the business. Curiosity, you spoke about it a lot, and you thought that it's one of the greatest skills that you can have, especially if you're a young entrepreneur. Now in this episode, we might talk about also the fact that the mindset behind your personality, and also like what are the stuff that took you, when you start implementing in your personal life, took you to the level that you are in. So in terms of also you spoke about Islam, and you haven't been practicing Islam until you had that deal with God, which is you said, if this happens, I promise you, God, that I'm going to be the best worshiper. Yeah. So can you touch on that point as well? Like,
I think that was the biggest pivot within my life, right? I mean, everything went bad, everything went downhill, right? It was truly darkness. That's why I understand as well. I don't know if you have noticed, but reverts mostly are more motivated than Muslims that are born in a Muslim family and raised up in a Muslim family.
100%.
Why? Because they have tasted the darkness, right? They really have tasted depression. They have tasted hitting the wall, having no goal in life, not knowing what happens after life, right? All of those things really matter. So at that stage, I considered myself as a revert, right? Even though I was grown up in a Muslim family, I didn't know much about Islam. So the moment I started practicing Islam, I started opening up, right? I had purpose in life. I felt better. Things happened, like I mentioned, right? Within 1 year.
Smoother, if you would say.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like within 1 year, I signed $1 million contract. Right? And yes, it's not always it's going to be reflected in money. Of course not. But looking at my situation, and not having an offer from a decent club, and the offer that I got was way less that I was used to. And then suddenly, signing $1 million contract within 1 year. And that was again also a test for me. Because now what happens? Now you have comfort, right?
Correct.
You don't have that stress anymore, finances, etc. So that was really important for me to stay thankful, right? I think that's also one of the biggest keys to success in my life is always staying thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah, true. One of my friends, he's also have similar story as you. He didn't grow up in I wouldn't say a Muslim culture. He grew up in UK, and then he experienced Islam as well by himself, teaching himself. And one thing he said, and it actually resonated with me, he said, we Muslim entrepreneur have a gift, a unfair advantage, because we know Islam and how it can help us towards our goal and financially, the financial freedom and stuff. So that actually resonated with me, and now you're just confirming it. But in terms of you teaching yourself about Islam, the Islamic culture, what are the key elements, the small steps that you started with as someone who's introduced to Islam for the first time, if I would say?
I think the first and most important thing is being genuine. Being genuine to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Being honest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we recite Surah Al-Fatiha each and every day, I guess 17 times a day, we say, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, right? Guide us to the straight path. Why is that so important? Because you ask for guidance, right? And if you're sincere, Allah will definitely guide you on that path. Because why? Humans, we are dishonest. Humans, most cannot even be trusted, right? They might guide you to a wrong way, even though you think they are genuine. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't have these characteristics, right? So when we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala genuinely, He will guide us for certain. There's no doubt about it. So knowing this, the first thing you have to always do is reflect on your intention. Are you really genuine, right? And this is a constant process. Even the Muslims in the past, which we should take as example, the Sahaba, they were always looking at their intentions, right? I give you the example of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anh, that even though he was promised Jannah, he was promised in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. So when the Prophet told him, you will be the ones entering Jannah, that means it's a guarantee. There's no chance of not happening,
It's
right?
from the Prophet.
It's a fact. So imagine you knowing, me knowing that we most definitely are going to Jannah. We might get comfortable,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
But him, he was different, right? So when the list also of the munafiqun, the hypocrites came to the Prophet ﷺ, he entrusted one of the Sahabi with it. Umar, he was so keen to know if he was on the list,
Wow.
right?
Even-
And even he was known that he was going to Jannah. He knew it.
Wow.
And still he wanted to know if he was on that list. Look at that.
SubhanAllah.
This is the example we have to take, right? We have to constantly, cleanse ourselves and constantly think: is my intention, in the right way? Is it towards pleasing Allah Subhanahu wa Taala? And he didn't suffice, because when he kept asking, look at this. When he kept asking, the Sahabi, he didn't tell him who was on that list and if he was on that list. So when there was the janazah prayers, so when a Muslim dies, we make a prayer for him. We go all to the mosque, right? The Sahabi that was entrusted, if he would go and pray, Umar knew that this was not a munafiq, that this person that died was not on the list. But when this Sahabi didn't pray that prayer, the janazah prayer, Umar knew this person was on that list. He was a munafiq, and he didn't pray with the Muslims.
Wow.
Look, again, the curiosity, but not the curiosity in a sense of I want to know who the person is and I want to gossip about him or whatever. No, just to know if I'm on that list, and eventually the Sahabi, he told him, Umar, you're not on that list and leave me alone now, right?
Yeah.
He didn't suffice for it.
SubhanAllah.
So look, one of the greatest, right? The greatest
Examples in
Sahabi,
Islam,
examples we should take.
Yeah.
So this is the role models we have to look at. And this is what we have to try to implement in our lives, right? Again, knowledge implemented becomes a skill, right? Just as any skill, marketing, whatever it is, in business, in football, whatever it is, it's the same with our deen, with Islam, right? It becomes a skill. When I first started praying, right, it was different than how I pray now, right? If we, for example, one of the biggest advices I would give is try to learn the tafsir of Surah Al-Fatiha, because Surah Al-Fatiha you recite 17 times a day.
Yeah.
But do we actually know what we are reciting, what the meaning behind it is? If you do that, only the first ayah, the first verses, you will improve your prayer, right? So it's knowledge, but implement that knowledge. It becomes a skill. And it's the same with deen. So yeah, I think that's the biggest advice I would say, is being genuine with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can't fool Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like you can fool maybe people.
True.
Right?
True. Is you coming and living here in Dubai was because of the Islamic background?
Yeah, definitely. Even during my career, I wanted to come here early on.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. So I remember at the stage, I think that was even at the stage, subhanAllah, look at it. That was maybe even at the stage where I pivot towards the Austria club, so the Austria Wien. That time I was trying forcible to get in touch with agents to bring me to Dubai or UAE or Saudi Arabia. But at that time, again, like you said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most wise, and we plan, but Allah plans, and He's the best of planner.
Yeah.
So it wasn't meant for me to be at that time to come here. But eventually I came here, and subhanAllah also, due to a lot of making dua and being sincere. And if I tell you how those transfers happen, it's like, it's crazy. Like
It's our stories with the private times with Allah. Those private times, when you live them, they look very natural. They look very understandable.
Yeah.
But when you try to narrate them to others,
Yeah.
you feel like I'm telling like a fairy tale, or
Yeah,
nobody
yeah.
will get it.
Yeah.
But I as a Muslim brother, I completely understand what you're
Right?
saying.
Yeah.
When you do a dua and somehow it happens,
It manifests. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Wallah. It's
Subhanallah. So going, just touching in the Dubai, into Dubai in terms of the Islam, and you obviously lived in Europe your entire life, and now coming to Dubai. What are the key differences between these kind of places?
It's a huge difference. For me, Dubai is the best place to be. Really, there's no better place except for Mecca, Medina. Obviously, we know it's the best place for worship, etc. But to live in a balanced way, Dubai is the best place. And I can confidently say, because look, many people traveled, right? You might have traveled also in many different countries. I've traveled many different countries, but I can say I've lived in many different countries. It's different to travel and to live, right? So I've lived in England. I've lived, and within England, different cities. I've lived in Netherlands. I've lived in Monaco, France. I've lived in Austria. I've lived in the Netherlands. I've lived in Turkey. I lived in Thailand, and I've lived here. Wow. Right? These are living, not traveling. So I can honestly say there's no better place than Dubai. Why? There's security, right? The security is second to none. Like, especially if you have children or even your wife, right? If you're in the Netherlands or in England and your wife is traveling at night through the metro, you're scared, right? Here, they can be outside at 2 a.m. There's no worry at all,
100%.
right? Even my car, when I have visitors over and we go to the mosque or we go to the supermarket or whatever, we go to the mall, I leave my door open, right? Sometimes my phone is even there, my valuable possessions are there. And my mom says, hey, you're not going to close the door?
Yeah.
I said, don't worry, mom, it's Dubai, it's fine, right? And yes, things happen, most definitely. It's not perfect, we're not in Jannah.
Yeah.
But for me, Dubai is the place to be.
Yeah,
really.
100%.
It's the place to be.
I have a very funny story. I went back to Algeria in the Eid period, so I can visit the family and, experience the Eid there.
Yeah.
And I had a quick meeting with, I think it was the cleaning service or something. And my mom listened. And she was like, did you give them your keys, the apartment keys? I'm like, no, I left it open. And she was like, what? Like she couldn't believe.
Yeah.
And then she told the same story to my father and what? You left the apartment open?
Yeah.
And then the father say it to my uncles. My uncles were like, how come? You're coming here to 15 days to visit us and your apartment is open there, like no closing. I'm like, you would be weird. You are the weirdo if you close your apartment in Dubai.
Yeah.
So that's I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Do you have as well that when you go there, you have to adjust your mindset as well? Like you have to again think, hey, it's not as safe here as in Dubai.
Yeah, 100%. So for example, I'm not backdashing my home country, but like the fact that you have your phone here and your wallet here, you need always to be aware that they are here, because sometimes like they can nick it, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, but here in Dubai, it's just safe. It's like too safe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You would reserve your table by putting your wallet into that table and going to the cashier.
Yeah.
No other country has this.
Yeah. It's so true. A funny story about it. I'm also into watches, and I invest in watches, and I collect them. And so I had a meeting with the person that was going to give me the new watch, right? And we were eating at the Armani Hotel in Burj Khalifa, I think, near Burj Khalifa.
Yeah.
And so there was a buffet, right? You have to walk and get your plate and get the food.
Yeah.
So he said, yeah, you want to open your watch? I said, no, let's eat first, and then we do it later on after breakfast. So I said, okay. So I said, just leave it here on the table, And he was like this because he's from Australia.
He didn't understand.
He said, hold on a second. You're going to leave this watch here? I said, yeah, don't worry. It's Dubai, man. You can just do it. We went to get the plate, relax. And I saw him all the time watching at the at the watch if it's still there. I said, don't worry, man. You can just leave it there. No problem.
Yeah, insane.
And so we had the buffet and we sit. And he said, wow. He said, that's next level. And I think he's also coming to Dubai.
100%. Yeah. I mean, these kind of small things that you only see in Dubai.
Yeah.
those things makes people come and live, as you said here.
Yeah.
Because it's too convenient. Convenient. Like the
Exactly.
safety is very important.
It's second to
It's
none.
a ni'mah.
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
big ni'mah.
It's a big blessing.
Yeah.
Really. And you appreciate it more if you come from those countries, right? In the Netherlands, right? The criminality, it's getting out of hand. Kids 12, 15 years old, carrying guns, knives, right?
Yeah.
Doing drugs, selling drugs, doing drugs, right? And I think if I talk about Netherlands, everybody knows it's in UK, France, Italy. It's not even this, it's maybe even worse, right?
Yeah.
So everybody that's successful in those countries, they want to leave. And where are they going? They're going to America. America is even worse, right? It's getting even more out of hand.
Yeah.
So
they're coming to this region.
They come here because it's safe and it's also a good environment to invest and to build something. There are opportunities because it's still a young country. So you can build things. You see opportunities.
100%.
So 100%. I don't see anything else than continuous growth of Dubai. Yeah.
Going back to your business background and the stuff that you touched on, very interesting. But in terms of the failures, we all know that there are some failures stories that, especially in business, that will shape your entire mentality, entire way of looking at things.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about one failure that you had in business that actually...
Yeah, I can straight away that comes up one.
Yeah.
Because look, at the beginning, when I started understanding, okay, look, I'm making a lot of money during my football career. I need to make sure that money is not only being saved, but invested and increased. Because at the end of the day, we have inflation, which is high at the moment. So if you just keep it at the bank, your purchase power becomes less. 100%. So you need to invest or build something.
Yeah.
So at that moment, I just started as an investor, right? So the most safest bet that I always did, and that was the best thing I did, was investing in real estate.
Okay.
Right? So I always said, okay, now at this moment, I'm not capable yet to start a business or to do great things. So let's simplify it and just invest in real estate. As long as it's in real estate and mostly it increases and it's a safe bet. You can't just quickly take it out and do things, because at the end of the day, what happens as well with athletes is when they have a lot of money on the bank, they don't know what to do with it. They start spending it, right? Cars, holidays, whatever, all the luxuries.
And these are all just liabilities.
Exactly.
They're not assets.
Exactly. They're all liabilities. And due to boredom, right? And due to being in a changing room every single day with, hey, he has the newest car, he has the newest watch, he has the newest shoes, he went to holiday on Maldives, I have to go to Maldives. Before you know it, and your career stops, it's done.
It's done.
And then you start getting reality. So at first I started investing, right? So I bought real estate in the Netherlands, Morocco, and that was for me the safest bet. It's not that difficult. So that's what I did first. So then I started getting comfortable with that. And now I started looking into, okay, let's see, can I invest in businesses, right? It's different to invest in a business than in real estate, right? So now coming to your question about the mistake, this was the biggest mistake I made as far as investing, is that I invested in a company and mostly into people, right? That I trusted, but at the end of the day, I couldn't trust, right? Eventually, alhamdulillah, I got my money back, but after 4 years of struggle, right? But that was my biggest mistake, investing in that company, and mostly more so not in the company, because the sector they were in was good, and the plan was good, but the people were bad.
Okay, tell me what is the key point that you've learned from it?
The key point is I think the biggest lesson I took is everything on paper, right? Okay. You have to be black and white agreements.
Got you.
Because even that is
so
mentioned
even if you trust the guy,
exactly. Even if he's your best friend, paperwork.
Not the first time I hear this.
This is the biggest lesson. So whoever starts doing investing or is starting a business, everything on paper. You just have to think in terms of what if it goes wrong? What is the situation between you and me then, right? Do we agree? If that's the case, okay, let's put it on paper. Why you don't want to put it on paper? That's a red flag, right? So, and even that, it's in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala obligates us to, if we do business together, put it on paper. Look. And if you don't do it, look what happens. Again, if you don't worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you don't listen to his advice, or you didn't have that knowledge, that's a different story. But still, when you do business, you're obligated to know the knowledge from Islam about business, right? You're obligated now.
Yeah.
So I didn't do that. So at the end of the day, they could play with me how they wanted. I was just a ball with them, right? They can turn me any way, any direction, and I'm I can't do anything. So I took a lawyer, right? And the lawyer mentioned the same.
He cannot help you.
Yeah, he said he tried to help me. He said, but look, if you had everything on paper, it would have been much easier.
Wow.
Yeah. But alhamdulillah, really, eventually they gave my money back. But again, if I have to think about inflation and all of that, it's less. But anyway, I got my money back.
I completely understand. You touch on a very interesting point, which is having friends, having a network, good network.
Yeah.
Does actually the network helps you to grow faster?
Yeah, it does. It does, most definitely. Look, it's a funny question as well. And I immediately have to think about a friend of mine when I was playing for Arsenal. And he was very social. He had a lot of connections. But the funny thing is, he didn't utilize them. He was just befriending them. And due to that, he's a really social guy and is nice, likable guy. They wanted to hang out with him. But he didn't use his network. Right? And he told me, he said, Nasser, you have to start making a network within your environment. But at that time, I was quite introvert. I didn't want to I didn't see the value in it. I think that's the thing. The value, I didn't notice it. I didn't see it, right? So I could have built so much network within my environment as a football player, but I didn't realize that at a young age. Now, I would say in the last couple of years, I start realizing how important network is, right? And I think the most important within a network is always not focusing on what the other guy gives you or what the other person gives you, but what can you bring to him?
To the table, true.
Right?
Yeah.
And that sometimes happens after a while, right? Sometimes you don't even know it. It just starts as a friendship, right? And then later on, you see you might be able to bring value to him, right? And if you focus on bringing value to others, then at the end of the day, they also feel entitled to give value back.
Yeah.
Right? And this is a healthy relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had a funny moment, but very insightful moment as well. Towards my beginnings, I met a guy who at that time I saw him like as a role model. He was big, he was very successful. And it was, you can say, the first time meeting with such a big person.
Yeah.
Because I guess the value that I was given was kind of higher than the usual. So I sat down with him and I completely forgot about the business meeting, and I just asked him and kind of squeezed all his knowledge. And then I don't know how, but because he was mentioning a lot of big names, I was like, bro, how did you manage to acquire this this network?
Yeah.
And then he gave me the answer was because my value got higher, and I always give the service first. The service first, and then I'm not expecting to come back, but always people are bringing a lot of great deals to me. They bring great people to meet with. And then he suddenly asked me, he said, how many successful person, he said, how many millionaire you have on your phone, on your contact list? And I'm like, wait, millionaire in my contact, like how?
Yeah.
It's like, you? And then we started laughing. But he told me like, this is how you should think about it. Like how many person that got financial freedom, but also the knowledge, and also you have the access to.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, this is very interesting. And how can I acquire that? By me trying to, develop myself and go to the next level. Yeah. So as long as you're providing a big value, people will always come to you.
That's it.
And before you know it, your phone or like the contact list will be flooded by these kind of people. And even the opportunities, it becomes really easy. I bet you have the same thing.
Yeah.
If I would ask you like how many opportunities you will get within a week,
Yeah.
you would tell me like insane.
Yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
is like pitching me this idea,
Yeah,
this idea,
exactly.
let's do this. Yeah, this is due to a network. But a lot of people are struggling with this as well, like networking. How is it like for me? Like I'm a young guy.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm a young guy. I don't have a lot of value to give. What is it? The tips that you might give me to even expand my network?
I think you gave the answer already.
Yeah.
You said, what did you say? You say, I increased my value, I increased my skills, and therefore you started building a great network.
Yeah.
Right? And again, it comes back to the 5 steps, right? Knowledge, skills, network, resources, reputation, right? And it has to be in that order. If you expect from me now a quick tip or quick shortcut, then this is not the podcast to be, go to somewhere else.
Yeah.
But it's definitely investing in yourself, in your knowledge, being curious, build your knowledge, and then implement it. Don't wait for implementation. Every time implement it. And then when you build that skill set, you become valuable, then the bigger the skill set, the bigger the network becomes, right? And the bigger the network, the bigger the resources. Because you might, at that time, yes, you will increase your value within financially as well. You will increase it. But it might not be big enough to build a huge business. You might need investors. But if you have the big network, you can tap in that resource, right?
Yeah.
So if that happens, then you will get the reputation eventually. Because with using that resources, building a big company, your reputation builds, right? A huge example, everybody knows him, is Elon Musk, right? From Tesla.
Yeah.
I'm sure if he, at the beginning of his career, would have said, look, I'm gonna build chips within brains of people so they can start using their limbs again. I'm gonna build a space shuttle which gonna go to the universe. I'm gonna build electric cars, and I'm gonna build robotics, and I'm gonna build don't know what.
Yeah.
And please give me the resources. Yeah. Please give me the investment. I'm looking for $10 billion.
Nobody
would give it
100%.
to him. But what did he do? Knowledge, implemented the knowledge, became a huge skill. Then he created a network. He proved himself. Then resources, and now he has a huge reputation.
Now, if he would ask about anything,
people would throw billions of dollars, their life savings, they would throw it at him.
Yeah, because he has a reputation.
Exactly. He has huge reputation.
And he went through all the steps.
Exactly. He didn't skip any step. 100%. I'm sure if you would interview him, you would ask about it, he would tell you exactly his story. And you will see that formula back. Wow. Right? So it's no shortcuts in those steps. So if you want to build your network or build your resource reputation, it has to start with knowledge.
Is it actually true that Dubai will open up and makes networking easier?
Definitely. I saw a statistic. I think 6,000 millionaires will come in Dubai this year. And I think each year, 6,000 new millionaires will come.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think a short amount of billionaires. Obviously, there are not much billionaires. But imagine the money that comes in, and they all want to invest. They all want to build, right? And without a network, it's difficult because you come, you arrive. The first thing you need to do is know how to set up a business. You need a network for that, right? Yeah, it's simple. You can use internet or whatever, but it would be better if somebody has done it already that you trust. He can guide you, for example. Sure. All right, there's many things. So looking at the quality of people coming inside Dubai, that's what also provides that quality in this country. Because a lot of people come here, either they already made it and they just want to enjoy the fruits of labor, or they made it, but they want to build something new, right? So there's definitely, the opportunities are there, But again, what you also mentioned about your story about the friend that said, how many millionaires do you have in your phone, right? You know how we have to think about our network? It's not about the direct person, right? The mistake we make about thinking about network is that we just look at the person himself. We forget in the network he can provide, like which he can tap into. Let's say, for example, myself, I don't have the contact details of Cristiano Ronaldo, right? But I know somebody that knows somebody that can contact him, right? So I'm just 3 phone calls away of Cristiano Ronaldo, right? So, and this you should think of when you build a network, right? It's not the person directly, it's who he knows, right? And what can he provide? And look, many people ask me, can you contact him? Can you contact him? Can you contact him, right? But you can't do that. You first have to build the relationship, right? You might know a lot of people that can be a benefit of me right now, but I'm not going to let you tap into it. I don't know you, right? Because that network is valuable.
Correct.
Let's say you recommend me to that network and I'm going to screw them over. Now you lost the network. He's not going to take you serious
100%,
anymore.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So you need to know the person well and then introduce him to your network. The network is extremely valuable, right? And that's what people don't understand is, okay, you have now put so much effort into knowledge. You have put so much effort into the skill. Now you have got the network. And now you're going to just throw the network away?
Yeah.
All right, just like that, like it's cheap? No, it's not like that.
Yeah, it is. It is one of the most valuable things because it makes you pivot quickly. It makes you learn things quickly, even like because of the nature of this business.
Yeah.
It's a talking space.
Yeah.
And every important person comes in and he tries to share his knowledge. So imagine every big person in the city comes in and shoot his content.
Yeah.
And I have the ability to speak to him.
Yeah.
Just for 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
And you cannot imagine the amount of information that I can squeeze from.
Yeah.
He might tap into my network. I might tap into his network.
Yeah.
I can know what this person can provide. He can know also so it's very important. It is very important. Like having a great network.
Yeah. Look at it. Look at this relationship now.
Yeah.
It's a value transfer, right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have come here if you wouldn't have brought me value, right? 100%. And I'm also not bringing value to you as well. But at the end of the day, it's not now. It can be in many years, or you don't know what this relationship brings.
True,
right?
True. A lot of people just think, oh, because I have the access for that person, meaning that I can utilize him whenever I want.
Yeah, that's it.
But that's not true.
Yeah,
what value would you bring to him as well?
That's it.
Yeah. Are you genuine enough to for him to trust you?
Yeah.
Do you have the resources and do you have the skill?
Yeah.
Do you have the actual positions that he might use
exactly.
as well?
That's a very good point you're making. Because look, the higher you get within a network, the higher you get up the ladder, the more critical people are.
100%.
Right? So it just takes a second to destroy that network, right? It just takes a second to destroy it. So you have to be really, because the network doesn't show directly numbers into your bank account, doesn't mean it's not valuable. It's extremely valuable, right? So we have to take it really seriously, how we treat the network. Yeah.
Are you still in contact with the people that you've acquired, I would say, met because of your background in football and the professional scene?
So I have to say, football, my reputation as a football player did definitely help, right? I mean, if I want to achieve things and I want to, let's say, acquire things or whatever, using my background opens doors, definitely. Even though I'm not on the level of Cristiano Ronaldo, for example, but still it opens doors. People take you straight away seriously, right? So that definitely helps. But again, going back to the lesson that I learned is that I should have used my environment and my skill set to increase my network, right? And especially in football, it's even more difficult because the moment you leave a club, you go to a different club, you forget about each other. Mm-hmm. I've just have barely some players that I still, worked with before. I still have contact with them. But the funny thing is that if you're being good with people, you're being genuine, you have left a great mark behind, there's always just a second away and we contact him and it's like before, right? I can still tap into the entire network that I had before, right? Mm-hmm. So it still has value, but I don't have direct contact. And this is also something great that you mentioned it, is that the people that in high and high in the ladder, they understand from each other we are busy, right? If I send you a message, right, I understand you might not respond within 2 days, right? I understand you don't answer me or answer my phone call, right? It's not personal.
Yeah.
It's I'm extremely busy. And this is a good question. I was eating with Firas Al-Amsadi from Fem Properties, right? He's one of the biggest real estate agents here. And we were eating and he said, look, he said, Nasser, he said, look my phone. And he had 2 phones. He said, look my phone. And he opened his WhatsApp and all open messages. He just kept going like this. He just kept looking. And when you see the green button.
Unseen.
It just kept going like this.
Wow.
Yeah. So he said, bro, how am I going to answer all these questions, right? And you know what he did with that as well? I don't know if he did it consciously, but he made me feel valuable. Because he took the time to go out to dinner with me.
And sit down with you.
And sit down with me 3-4 hours, whatever it is, right? And that made me appreciate the network more, right? So whenever I tap into my network for somebody else, it has to be worth it.
100%.
Yeah.
Because you're taking the time and the effort and also giving it away to that person.
Correct.
It means that guy you're entrusting, but also is very valuable.
Yeah, exactly.
He needs to appreciate that as well.
Exactly.
And respect it.
Yeah.
Very important. Do you think that the Islamic traits that you have and you've learned helps as an entrepreneur and a business owner?
Most certainly, man. Like for me, Islam is applicable to every single, and that's
even when like the question is like even if you're not dealing with Muslims.
Yeah.
We'll notice that.
Yeah. It's a good point you're making here because I think Khabib, the UFC fighter, right? He said the non-Muslims, they don't read Quran, they don't read a hadith, but what do? They read you, right? They look at you. And I think this is the best example that he gave is, we have the presence of a Muslim, so behave like one. Again, going back to the story of Umar ibn Khattab, radiallahu anh, that this is the examples that we have to take, right? And implement it again. Because it's all nice to read a hadith, read all the Instagram stories about, implementing this, all the knowledge. Yes, it gives you an iman boost, but just for a couple of seconds. But we have to implement it. So again, going back to business, right? Doing what you said, keep your promises, right? Don't screw over anybody, right? Be fair to people, treat people the way you want to be treated, right? All of these things, if you implement them, good things will come. Like I mentioned in the other podcast, there won't be any employee leaving my company and saying, I've been mistreated. And if they do, they are being dishonest. And at that moment, I was still reflect. Exactly. Reflect and see if I did make a mistake. Because that's also part of Islam. Yeah. You're always reflecting. Because at the end of the day, akhi, we are nothing. We are really nothing. Even though you have all the money in the world, you have the status in the world, at the end of the day, one mosquito comes, bites you, you're nothing, you're in your bed asking for your mommy.
100%.
Right?
100%.
So 100%. At the end of that, keeping that in mind is truly, important in business, in life, in general.
I hate to say it, but it is really nice talking to you every day.
Likewise, man.
Every time. You always bring some insightful to the table, things like sometimes like I don't remember them until like 2-3 days. And then like, oh, he said something. And I find myself like driving and thinking about what you said. Very insightful. Thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. You're finishing with that. And I also want to say that, look, of course, it's the same. I think we can talk for 2 hours, 3 hours, and we might do that in the future. But at the end of the day, like what you just mentioned, and that's also one of the reasons I started the podcast or started going on Instagram, etc. Because personally, if I want, I prefer to be in my comfort zone and don't show myself at all. But I believe that I have some value to bring, and at least for my kids. Because at the end of the day, my kids are still young. I can be gone in any time, but I can still leave messages behind that they can't comprehend now, but they can in the future.
Mashallah.
Just like you mentioned now, you're looking, for example, in the car and you look it back, and you can see it back. this is something for me, the most, this is the biggest reason I started the podcast. And obviously, hopefully a lot of, listeners and watchers, they will benefit from it. If it's only one person that benefits it, it's for me a job done, right? So hopefully we have many more interviews, man, or podcasts.
Inshallah. All right, guys. Thank you very much. See you next time.